This is the heartbeat of human services, a peek into the inspiring stories of our community and all things DHS. Join us.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Jana Slagle for the podcast, The Heartbeat of Human Services. And we are kicking off National Adoption Awareness Month here at the Department of Human Services. And today we have two adoptive parents who are our guests, Nick and Rachel McLean. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So glad you're here. So we just went to the Board of Supervisors and got a proclamation this morning, and Nick and Rachel joined us. How was that for you guys? The first time being there?
It was good.
Was it?
Yeah, actually, it was an honor to be there with all the council members to receive the proclamation from them. That was fantastic.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you guys deserve it. I think it was neat to hear your story. And so I'd love to have you guys kind of explain, like, why is adoption important to you? And what made you even consider becoming adoptive parents?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
They're looking at each other.
Okay. So we had already had 3 biological children of our own, and they were not babies. But we just felt like the Lord was calling us to do it. And we couldn't shake that feeling. And we had seen that Nick's sister and brother-in-law, they took in a foster baby. They had problems with fertility. And so they ended up doing that. And so we saw that happen, and he was adopted. And so now he's our nephew. We love him. And so we saw that, and we saw their struggles. And so we knew it was going to be a hard process. But we also knew that we needed to do the same thing. And so we stepped out in faith, and we were like, okay, God, you do whatever you're going to do here. And we signed up to take in a child.
Our church is also very big on adoption and caring for orphans and widows and those in need. And so what we were able to do is, take part in some of the activities from our church, and really from those, it sparked within us as well as from my sister and brother-in-law, just being able to reach out and know people, who are in the foster care system, and figure out how to go from there.
And I go to the same church, so just disclosure there. But the Canyon Hills Church does talk a lot about adoption. So, and there's a lot of people that have adopted. So it does help when you're around people to see how does this work, and kind of watch them doing it. Yeah. So when you very first started, and the thought came to mind, I think we need to do this. Did you call or go online and find out? How did you decide where to go first?
Yeah, so we sought out counsel, and we talked to lots of our friends and family who had gone through the process, and even talked to Rick Smith from Pathway Services. And I said, Pastor Rick, what do you think we should do? Who should we go with? Should we go with a different agency, or should we go with DHS, or what? And so I said, I really feel like God is calling us to a younger child. And he said, if that's the case, then you probably need to just go with DHS. And so that's kind of where we're at. And I had already prayed about it. I was like, God, I just need wisdom. I don't know what to do here. Yeah. And so that's what we did. It really helped talking to different people.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And did you talk to your kids about it before you moved forward?
We absolutely did. That was one of the things. We knew that we didn't want to rock the boat for what we had in our own family. So we needed everyone to be on board. Yeah. So we said, all right, kids, if we're going to do this, really do that, then do you guys think that you can, have another brother or sister that you can take in and be part of our family? And kids are so great, and they are willing to take in and do challenges that adults are, step away from. And they just, without even thinking about it, they're just, of course, we'll absolutely do that. And I think having multiples already in the house, we already had the 3, made it a little bit easier. So it's just, you add another one. What's 4 kids, right? So.
And so how old were your 3 kids when you started the process?
I think that we had 8, 6, and probably 3.
Okay. He was 3.
Yeah.
Okay. 8, 6, and 3. And so I know you mentioned today that once you went through the process to become an approved foster parent and an adoptive parent, then it was like waiting for the call, right? Waiting.
Yeah.
And so when you did get the call and, finally things kind of were working out, how old was your little girl when you first got her?
So when we first got her, she was only 20 days old. And she's just the best little baby.
Oh, yeah. And so then how long did you have her with you until you got to the point where you got to do the whole adoption finalization? How long did that take?
Took 2 years and 1 day till we did the final adoption hearing.
Okay. So that was a pins and needles waiting, isn't it? That's the hard part I hear from foster parents.
Yeah. And we actually went through the process because it was during COVID. There was a lot of extensions given, a lot of pushing beyond what normally the courts would do. So that part was a little bit frustrating to us because we were just hurrying up to let's get to TPR, let's get to this point where we can move to the adoption stage. And it takes time and patience and trust in the process and in the Lord. Yeah, absolutely. So we waited, and like you said, she's worth the wait.
Yeah, she's worth the wait. And so now she's 3, or how old is she now?
Yeah, she
3. Seems tall for 3. Maybe it's just me, but I'm not around 3-year-olds alive.
She is pretty tall.
She's kind of a tall,
she's tall, yes.
And so how did you choose the name Hallie? That's such a cute name.
I just really liked the name. I thought it was so cute.
And, so cute.
Rachel chose it.
I chose it. Her middle name is Nicole.
Oh, that's pretty.
And Nicole is actually Nick's sister's name. So we named her after his sister since they sort of inspired it.
I've heard different families tell me sometimes when you adopt a child that maybe looks a little different than your family, that people in the community say things to you. Have you had any funny experiences like that where people are like,
it usually works okay whenever I'm not with Rachel because they can, let their mind think of whatever happened. And but whenever we're all together, we do get glances, and people look at you and just. But I mean, the way that she acts around our family, it's pretty obvious that she belongs to us.
She does. Even today, I was watching your. It was your mom. She left with your mom, just happy as she could be. I love that. So it looks like she's around the grandparents too, kind of a lot.
Yes.
That's nice.
She loves her grandparents.
I love that. What are some of the ways it kind of changed your family when you just adopting?
Yeah, I mean it really brought us back to the baby stage again, and we were just, oh man, I forgot. Yeah. We like our sleep.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
And then just the dynamics of adding a 4th child. I mean, when they outnumber you, it sort of changes the dynamics again. But we had that even when we had our 3rd child. As soon as he outnumbered us, we were like, oh man, we're in for it. But I mean, otherwise, it just makes life a little bit more busy. But I mean, she's worth it, and we would have never not done what we did. We're still so thankful and grateful we did it.
Some families tell me when they adopt a child that has other siblings, they connect. I don't know. Is that part of your journey too?
Yeah, absolutely. She has, I guess, 11 other siblings.
She has a lot of siblings.
And what we've been able to do is at least connect with the next 4 that are closest to her in age. And so we made it a priority to every month, during the whole process, we would all get together, and whether it's at one of their houses or out to eat or at a park, we would all find time for them to get to, interact with each other. And, interactions between an infant or a toddler and their siblings can be awkward, especially when you see each other once a month. But we still continue that. And we still try to get together with her next 2 closest siblings, at least monthly, if not more, if we can.
Yeah. And so that's nice that they're local. That works out really well. And you know the people that adopted the others.
Yes.
That's great. All of the other siblings were adopted as well?
Some of them were already adults. And some of them were living with their dads because they had different dads. And then some of them were adopted out by family or other foster parents.
Did the social workers help you connect with the siblings, or how did that connection happen?
Yeah, and then through some of them we met through Facebook. And so that's kind of how that happened. But now we're close, and it's like we're family. They're extended family. Yeah,
it's good for her to have those other. No, she's part of that family too, or that there's her siblings. That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else that surprised you about adopting? You have to go to court a few times, and
We chose to attend all the court sessions. Yes. We wanted to make sure that we knew what was going on with her. We had constant interaction with her attorney, who was supporting her. And it was just good for us to be there. Our CASA worker at the time became a really good friend of ours. And so we still invite her to birthday parties, and we see her from time to time. And she's fantastic. DHS was actually a great support for us and providing anything that we needed at the time. So if there was something that we're like, hey, we don't know how to do this, we could reach out and our social worker would be there and help us out with anything. It was great.
That's cool.
I think that the one thing that was unforeseen going into the process was just all the emotions and the range of emotions that you would experience, because there's that tug, you take in this child and you selfishly, I say selfishly, but unselfishly too, you want to keep the child because you love them. But at the same time, you want the biological parents to turn around, and so there's that like weird emotional struggle and tension that you go through. And especially when you see them at court, because you feel like, man, like, just stop doing what you're doing. You're missing out on this child, or, and you want the best for them. But at the same time, you have that emotional struggle where you're praying, God, I want to keep this child too. And so it's just this struggle. And I especially felt it when we were in the court hearings and seeing the family and knowing that they're struggling too, and they're trying, and it's a weird emotional battle. And I've only been able to have other people understand it who have gone through the process. So other foster parents, or other people who have gone through the court hearings and just know that tension. And even when I tried to explain it to different people or friends, like, you just can't fully explain, the emotions that go into it, the highs and lows of it. But no matter what, it was all worth it. But it was definitely something unforeseen.
Yeah. And I've heard that from a lot of foster parents, because we want children to reunite with their biological families. But if they can't, then adoption is really the best thing. But I'm sure there's like a mixture of guilt because you want her, but you want them to do well. And I can understand that. I think that's very honest and real. So what would you say to anyone out there who's just considering adoption? Is there any advice that you would give to them?
I would just say make sure that your whole family's on board with it. Because if you're not, it could be a very big struggle, especially when there are difficulties in the adoption process or in the foster care process. Because we've had other parents or people that we know who are going into the foster care process wanting to adopt. And then they have that moment where the foster child is taken away and reunited back with their family, which is great. But it also, like Rachel was talking about, it tears a part of you away as well. And so they don't go in lightly. Make sure everyone's on board, have your eyes wide open, make sure that you're prepared for whatever God is going to do. And that's really the best advice I can give.
Good.
Yeah, just make sure you go in prepared and you do diligence to talk to other people about it, get as much information as you can to make sure that that's something that you are willing to do. And, most importantly, I mean, our faith guides us. So, I mean, if you're a Christian or, whatever, seek the Lord and see, is this what's right for our family? Is this what you want for us? But ultimately, we know it's God's heart. And so it's important to him. So it should be important to us.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that you just brought out the best point is when you become a foster or adoptive family, you really don't know what the outcome is going to be. You go in hoping, but you just don't know, right? You don't know if that child's going to be with you or they're going to go back home. And just that holding on but letting go at the same time, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. So that's where your faith comes in.
Yeah. And I told Rachel at the beginning, I said, I've got one good shot in me. So if we have a foster child and they're with us for 3 months and they take them away, I think I'm done. Okay. Well, but the Lord was gracious to us and we got to keep her the whole time. And there was never any take away and give back. It was, and we got to keep her the full 2 years to adoption. And I think that
you knew your limits, though.
Yeah, because I didn't want to be broken emotionally either. And I think that was my safeguard as well. Yeah. It's like, I don't want this to, continually impact our, core family that we already had already.
Right.
So it was one of those things of preparation of what's to come.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then also knowing at the front what you felt would work for your family probably saved you a little bit by having to say no, because you knew what God was calling you to do and what you felt was best for your family. So thank you guys so much for being our guests today.
Thank you.
If anybody out there is listening and you're thinking about adopting, you can go to our website at kcdhs.org and search adoptions. You can also call 661-631-6204 for more information. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you.
I'm your co-host, Paola Hernandez, and welcome to today's Mindful Minute. Let's be real, does anyone else's anxiety peak around the holidays? At work and at home, everyone's trying to get things done before the next holiday. I found what works for me is listening to soulful, soothing music. I am not sponsored by Spotify, but they have curated some great anti-anxiety playlists. And yes, that is what the mix is actually called. So find the sound that makes your heart rate drop. If you don't like the typical beach soundscapes, check this out. This has been your Mindful Minute.
Thank you for joining us for the Heartbeat of Human Services podcast today. We hope you'll join us next time.